Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers in Gosport. So I'm going to be doing a handover video on this particular vehicle today, and it's a new Venture Elise. So there weren't many of these made. This is a 2005, and we're based on the Fiat Ducato chassis. So over on the left-hand side under the bonnet, we've got your engine battery. Now you haven't got to do anything with this. You just leave it as it is. There's nothing wrong with it. And so, if you wanted to jump start the vehicle, basically that's the only reason you would ever really need to get to this. You have got air conditioning in this vehicle, which was not a standard thing on these particular Ducatos. Now when it came into us, the air conditioning wasn't really working very well. I have plugged it into our machine and regassed the entire system, and now it comes through really nice and cold, so it's absolutely perfect. So at the top just here, we've got your brake fluid. So you've got a brake fluid reservoir there attached to the servo. Your power steering fluid is this one just here at the front. Engine oil gets topped up through here and checked with the dipstick just down here. We've then got your couple of fuses and relays behind this one here, but the main fuse box is this one down here. You have got a couple of other fuse boxes in the cab, but the main one really is this one here in the cab, under the bonnet, sorry. Engine coolant is in this reservoir here at the top. Check that when it's cold. Your air filter sits inside this box over here on the right hand side, and your washer fluid gets topped up through this little reservoir down here. The chassis plate for the vehicle is this one down here, so it's weighed at 3.3 ton, so you can drive this on any car license. But yeah, there you go. So that's under the bonnet. So this is a diesel vehicle. When you want to get to the diesel filling point, you push on the left-hand side with this little cover here, and it will then release the flap to get to the diesel filling point. And nothing to show you on the passenger door. So you have got an electronic step on this vehicle, so you have got a little switch just in here. When I press on this switch, see the step comes in and out really nicely, like so. The little lower cupboard here, customer did pick up that it wasn't really working very well. The problem was the hinge bar down here was all bent out of shape, so I've put that back to where it should be, and now it works very nicely. So carry on to the back of the van, because essentially it's just a sliding door there. Back of the van, you have got a couple of things that I need to point out. So full-size standalone table just here. Now basically if you want to take this out, push this little catch just here to the right, and then you'll be able to slide it out towards the inside of the van. Put that back across for driving. You've also got a little extendable piece of worktop here. Okay, so if you want to use that, you can do. It's completely up to you. You have then got the gas locker here at the back as well. So the gas locker, customer has requested 2 gas bottles to be in here when the vehicle goes out. We normally just do the 1, but they've asked for 2, so that's no problem. So the gas bottle on the left-hand side is the one that we've got powering the actual regulator at the moment. So this is the one that I'll show you. It's exactly the same on both, by the way, but I just thought I'd show you this one here. Now this particular one is what you'd call a light bottle, so it's L-I-T-E. And they have got this nice little gauge on, so you can actually see the sort of rough amount of gas that you've got in the actual bottle itself. So this is a full bottle, this is a full bottle. But basically, to turn the gas on, we go anti-clockwise around to the left until it doesn't go anymore. So just keep going and keep going. I've got a little bit of resistance there, so I'm going to stop. So that is the gas bottle fully on. And when you want to turn it off, you just go clockwise all the way down to the bottom until it stops. So that is how you would turn the gas bottles on and off. Make sure that you have both bottles turned off before you start driving. It's really important to do that. And just to point out, you have got an external gas point just here as well. I have put a little bit of rubber hose around this because it was just touching on that little bit of metal there. But yeah, just in case you ever wondered what that was in there, that's your external gas point. So, I'll just close that up for a minute. So speaking of the external gas point, you've got colour coded, or well, it's the closest colour they make to the colour of the vehicle. This is brand new as well. All right. So essentially, inside the vehicle, you have got, I'll just show you, this little fitting here. Now this is what's called a bullfinch fitting, and it's a bullfinch socket. And basically, to get the gas to come through, put the fitting in and twist round. So hopefully you could hear that on the video, but that's essentially just the gas coming through this little piece just here. So if you did have a barbecue point or something like that you wanted to use, put your hose onto this part here and then push in and twist, and that will then allow the gas to come through to whatever you want it to go to. So that essentially, that is sort of isolated all the time that you haven't got this in. So it's quite a nice little unit. It's the ones that we generally like to fit. So the next thing we get to is the fridge vents. So these two vents just here basically just give you access to the back of the fridge. Now you shouldn't really ever need to get into there, to be honest. It's more so for our sort of servicing stuff. Generally speaking, it's just if you wanted to clean out the burner or something like that down here, then you can. But yeah, shouldn't really have to do that. Next thing across is our electric hookup point. So if you do have access to a hookup cable, it's really handy to have that plugged in, because it essentially means that you don't have to worry about your battery voltage at all. When you've got that hookup cable plugged in, the battery charger is on and the leisure battery is getting a really good charge to it. So, you don't have to worry about that voltage at all. It also means that you'll be able to use any of your mains powered appliances. So, you can use the boiler on the mains in this vehicle. You've got 240 volt sockets. The fridge works on mains as well. So it does give you those extra options. So that is your electric hookup point. Now underneath here, we have got this little one down here that I've got hanging down. This is your waste drain off point. And you've also got under here another drain that's attached to that nice little new clip. And that one there that's hooked up at the moment is the freshwater drain off point. So if you wanted to drain out your fresh water, it's that one that's in there. If you want to drain out your wastewater, it's the one with the white top just there. Obviously that one will hook up inside as well, but I've just got it down because I did drain it out earlier. Right, so the next thing over is your Ultra Store, which is your water boiler. So you've got a separate heater to boiler in this particular vehicle. You haven't got a combi boiler. So this is the sort of more basic version of it, essentially. Just means that you've got two separate things. It's not a problem. In fact, I would say that they're more reliable. So with this vent here, you've actually got this little cover. So this little cover is what you call a cowl cover, C-O-W-L. Always sounds like I'm just saying cow when I'm saying that on the video. So this cover is essentially if you're, locking the van up for a few weeks or something like that, you would put this cover on, go from the bottom first, and then push up from the top. Okay, so one, I think it looks a little bit nicer, but also it's just for stopping things from getting inside there and sort of corroding up the burner and stuff like that. It's partly for water and rain and wind and all that sort of stuff, but it's also partly for bugs getting in there, like spiders and stuff as well, because they do make a bit of havoc in there. So make sure that you're going to put this on if you are going to leave it in, locked up for a few weeks or whatever. But I would also say, with this, it's like super important that you make sure that you take this off before you start trying to use the boiler. Realistically, you probably won't be able to get it to light up with this on, but if you do, it will more than likely go bang because there's no air getting in. So just bear that in mind. Make sure that you take this cover off before you start trying to use the boiler. Next part over is our freshwater filling point. So I'll just show you. We have got this little silver key just here. Basically, when I put the key in and twist, we can then take the cover out. So to put it back on, push it in, the only way it will go back on, twist the key, take the key out, and that's now locked up. So super, super simple on that one. This little vent here, by the way, just in case you wondered, is your heating vent. So if you had the heating on, you'll be able to feel warm air coming out through the bottom of this. Right, so in the cab, These are relatively straightforward cabs, but I will say that on this particular one, you've got pretty much every extra under the sun. So a really nice high spec cab. So on the actual steering wheel itself, you will notice you've got cruise control buttons on here. So you can turn the actual cruise control on and off from the right hand side, and then you can resume and increase and decrease the speed on the left hand side. So that's a factory fitted thing. All right, that's not being fitted aftermarket, that's a factory thing. So whoever had this vehicle from new really wanted to put some money into it and you know, make sure it was the right one. So that's your cruise control there. Your lights and indicators are obviously on your left hand stalk, or washers and wipers are on the right. Down on the door, we've got the electric windows and the electric adjusting mirrors as well, which also wasn't a standard thing really back in these days. So adjust that as you will. Basically just select which mirror you want to move and then move it like a little joystick. You've got the 5-speed manual gearbox. Reverse is obviously lift up on the back just there, over and up to the top left hand side. You've got a nice singled in Sony head unit up here, so that's a nice modern one actually. So it says there you've got DAB+, Bluetooth, USB, yes, all of your standard bits and pieces that you'd like to have nowadays, I suppose. Right, so in the actual center of the dash here, you've got the main sort of like heater controls and stuff like that here. So you've got your fan speed on the left, temperature in the middle, and then where the air blows to on the right. In this particular case, you've also got the air conditioning switch just here. So you do need to turn that button on if you want the air conditioning to work. So as I said, when the vehicle came in for the habitation check, I was asked to sort of check over the aircon. And when I've actually left the receipt for it in the paperwork so you can see, but it actually drew out, what it will do is it will draw out all of the gas that's in it already and then put all new gas in. And it actually took out 0 grams. So there was absolutely no gas in here at all. So once I've put the new amount of gas in, which for future reference is 550 grams, just in case you ever needed to know. Once I put that new gas back in, it's absolutely freezing cold and, you know, working really well. So that was a bit of a bonus. I did sort of have it in my mind that it might not have helped it, but once I put that new gas in, it's perfect. So that is a really good thing. And then the last thing in the cab is you've got your reversing camera. So that screen just up there that you can see, that is a screen for the reversing camera. So yeah, use that as you will. Both of these front seats swivel round. So you've got these little orange handles just here, which will allow you to swivel the seats around. You've got one on here and one on the driver's seat as well, I believe. Or maybe you don't actually. Let me just have a little look. No, it might not be swivel seats actually on the driver's side. It's either that or it's on the other side. Not sure. So in the actual van itself, so this is a really standard and sort of industry standard layout for these smaller vehicles. So you've got the side settee just here, and then behind us we've got the single seat. Don't worry about the cushions for this because we have got a couple of bits being made up at the moment. Basically there was a part missing, or an infill cushion missing, so we're having one of those made up. So we've had to take one of the cushions out for them to copy it. Anyway, so first things first, we have got the control panel. If I just move this back a bit, the control panel just here inside the door. Now basically this is a PC200 and you know, very simple, very standard little control panel. You've essentially got a main power switch on the top right hand side. So if I turn that off, you'll see anything 12 volt related, including all the lights and stuff like that, will now be turned off. When I turn that back on, it'll make that noise and it will just turn back on everything that was on the last time I turned it off. So you can see as well, we've got lights, external lights and water pump. They are the 3 additional switches in here. So, because I've got the water pump switch on, I can hear that the water pump is not running. And that's a really good sign because it means that the water pump is actually at pressure. And it also means that there's no leaks, because if there was a leak, you would hear the pump turning on and off, on and off, on and off. Okay, and the reason that it would do that is because it's trying to get up to pressure, and it will just kind of purge itself through every now and again. So if you can hear the pump doing that, on, off, there's more than likely either a leak somewhere, or one of the taps is just very slightly on and it's just having to get back up to pressure every time those water bits come out. But for the time being, I've actually fitted a new pump to this because the old one was completely knackered. So you've got a brand new pump in here, so you shouldn't have any problems with that. On the left-hand side, you can see we've got a couple of gauges. So if I press on the bottom button here, it tells us the amount of water we've got in the fresh tank. So we've got 18% of water in our fresh tank. So that essentially means that when I turn the water pump switch on, like it is now, I should be able to draw the water through. Okay, so that is literally the basics of, making sure that you're pressurized and stuff like that. So you would come into the vehicle, press on your freshwater gauge, see that you've got some water in the tank, turn your water pump switch on, and then draw the water through on the tap. Now in this particular case, because you've got a boiler as well, a hot water boiler, it is also important to make sure that the boiler is full of water before you start trying to use that as well. So the only way to do that is to do what you've just seen me do on the control panel, check the water level, turn the water pump on, and then essentially you're just going to want to come to the tap over here and draw the water through on the hot side of the tap. So straight away, I'm happy with that. And when I turn the tap off, pump turns itself off. And that is exactly what you want to see. Now, basically, what that means, right, what that's told me, with the hot water side of the system, the boiler is first in line, okay? So the boiler is first in line before the hot side of the tap. So essentially, if you didn't have any water in the boiler, or even if the water wasn't completely full in the boiler, you would not get any water coming through that tap on the hot side. And if you did get any water coming through, it'd be coughing and spluttering at you and going everywhere. All right, so to make sure that the boiler is 100% full, literally just do what I've done there. As long as the water comes through nice and clearly on the hot side of the tap, and when you turn the tap off, the pump turns itself off afterwards, you're good to go. Okay, so in that same sort of thing, if you like, same sort of area, when it comes to the boiler itself, when you pull this seat out, you'll actually notice that down here underneath this seat, you've got a little circle cut out in the floor. And inside that circle, you'll see a little yellow handle. All right, so that yellow handle is the boiler drain for this particular van. So essentially, if you wanted to winterize the vehicle, you would go inside there and lift the tab. The tab at the moment is laying down flat in line with the bottom of the vehicle. If you wanted to drain the boiler out of all of its water, you lift the tab upright and all of the water inside that boiler will drain out onto the floor. Okay, so that's how you would winterize the van. It's really, really simple. And then make sure that you put that flat back over again when you want to use the vehicle again. So simple as that. There's nothing tricky about it, honestly. But yeah, so yellow tab, laying down flat to fill it up, upright to drain it out. So the other two things on the control panel are your battery voltage indicators. So we can see when I press it the once, it's showing us our leisure battery voltage, 12.4, and it will then switch over at some point to the vehicle battery, as you can see there, 12.6. So those two voltages are absolutely perfect for a vehicle that isn't being charged. Now, there is a solar panel on the roof of this van, but we are inside. So it's going to be doing absolutely naff all. And we haven't got the electric hookup plugged in, so there's no charge going into either batteries. Okay, so if you wanted to know sort of what a good and bad battery voltage is, I'll tell you very briefly, but you can look online and see actual gauges and stuff like that. But essentially, if your leisure battery or vehicle battery goes down below about 10.5 volts, then essentially you're looking into the point where the battery's going to start being damaged, essentially. So you've got a scale of around sort of 10 to about 14.5 volts, which is where any battery is kind of happy. All right, if you go over that, if you go above sort of 15 volts, the battery's going to start wearing itself out because there's too much power inside of it and they can actually blow up. And if it's too low, then essentially it will just start draining itself out, and the health of that battery, you won't be able to charge it back up again after you've drained it out too far. So it's important just to keep your eye. I mean, at the moment, you can see, as I say, I've got nothing charging the battery at all. All right, I've got the lights on and all that sort of stuff, and I've still got 12.4 volts in the Leisure battery. So that is really, really good. Okay. So as I say, as soon as that starts getting down towards like 10.5 volts or even 11 volts, really, when it starts getting down towards that sort of number, it might be a bit of an idea to put the hookup cable in for a bit. Or if you don't have a hookup cable in, you can also start the engine up. That will obviously charge the vehicle battery, but it will also charge the Leisure battery as well. So what you've got in this particular van, and most motorhomes, is something called a split charger or a split relay. Essentially what happens is a small amount of the power, or some of the power from the engine, gets sent back through to the Leisure battery as well. All right, so it basically means that when you're running and driving the vehicle, your Leisure battery is getting a good charge up as well. So it can be a good idea to start the engine up in order to charge the Leisure battery. Okay, so that is something that you can do. So that's the basics, really. That's the control panel. There is one more switch up there, but that just tells you the temperature, internal and external. Okay, so simple stuff on the control panel. You've got all of your storage lockers all the way around the top of the van, all the way around, loads and loads of storage. Right, so what should I go through? So I guess now it's going to be the appliances. I think actually I will start with the boiler, basically because it's the first one that I get to. So as I said on the outside, your boiler in this vehicle is called Ultra Store. So you can see these two little dials just here. You've got one at the top that says Ultra Store, one at the bottom that says Trumatic E. So Ultra Store is the one we're looking at, which is the one at the top. And essentially, if you want to use the boiler on the gas, this is the gauge that you want to be looking at. The dial that you want to be looking at, sorry. So if you want to use it on the gas, you literally, sorry about my shaky hand, it's a bit of an awkward position. If you want to use it on the gas, you'd switch this around to the right and you'll get a little green light. You've then got, on the inside of that, you've got a little gauge, which is essentially just telling the boiler what temperature to get to. So if you want 60 degrees of hot water, turn it around to 60. And it really is as easy as that. And essentially what will happen is the boiler will get the water to that temperature and then it will turn itself off and on, as long as you leave it on for. Okay, so that's how you would use the boiler on the gas. That's the way that you would use it on the gas there, with this switch at the top that says Ultra Store. Okay. Now you've also got the option of using the boiler on the mains as well. So if you've got the electric hookup plugged in and you want to heat the water up via the electric hookup and not the gas, you can turn this little switch on down here. And essentially after about half an hour to an hour, you'll have hot water coming through the taps. Okay, so that will have a light on it when the electric hookup is plugged in. So that is a sort of way that you can double check that it's definitely working, where you've got the little light on it there. So pretty easy on that front. Just whilst I'm here as well, actually, I just realised that, I just remembered that I need to show you something here. So when we pull this seat forwards, which by the way is unbelievably easy, you literally just lift up and back. Okay, so that's how you would release this. It's the same with this one, by the way, you lift up and back. But I just thought I'd show you, inside this little seating area here, we have got your mains trip switches on the right just there, as you can see. And we've also got your 12-volt fuses. So if you ever needed to get to any of that, then it's literally just a case of sliding this back out of the way. Trip switches on the right, that's your mains related stuff. 12-volt fuses on the left. The 12-volt fuses as well, by the way, just in case you didn't know, underneath or above each one of those fuses, it tells you what size the fuse should be and it tells you what it's for. So if in the future you can't get back to us for any issues that you might have, hopefully you won't have any, but if you do, and you're sort of stuck in a field somewhere and you thought, you know, I'll have a little look for myself, let's just say, for example, you turn the power on the control panel one day, but you just cannot get any of the lights to work. If you had a little look in there on that 12-volt fuse panel there will be a fuse with a little light symbol. In fact, there's probably two, but there'll be a little symbol there with a light on it. And that's how you can look at that and think, oh, well, that's my fuse for my lights, and check it. So it's really, really easy. If you wanted to do that, you can. Just to save you a trip back down to us, if you ever, if you wanted to have a little look for yourself, just thought I'd point that out. So, whilst we're still here as well, we've got the heating. So as I said, the heater is the one that says Trumatic E. Now, essentially, this is a gas only heater, by the way. This doesn't work on the mains at all. Now you've got two options on here. You've got up 1 or 2, which is basically just a fan. Okay, so that will just start pumping through cool air around the vehicle. So that's not heating at all, that's just cool air. And that's basically what you want to use in the summer. If you want a little bit of cool air pumping around, you can use the fan only option. If you go back down to the middle, that turns the entire thing off. If I go down once or twice, that is our heating options. And that's basically just small flame and big flame. So if you're in a real hurry for some heating, go right down to the bottom. If you're not in so much of a hurry, go once down. And if we just wait for a sec, the gas should fire through in a minute. There you go. So that is just lit up really, really nicely. And actually some of these Trumatic E systems can be a bit noisy, but that's actually nice and quiet. So any of these little vents that are around the vehicle will now have heating coming through. These Trumatic E heaters don't take very long at all to heat up, so you can expect to have the van warmed up within about 5 minutes. So yeah, it's as easy as that. As I said, back to the middle, turns the entire system off. So that is working really, really nicely. Right, the cooker. You have got 4 burners on the top with an ignition switch just here. You've also got the grill underneath here. Sorry about that. You will need the grill door to be open, obviously, to be using that. But essentially, push in and round on the valve whilst pressing on your ignition, and that will allow the gas to come through. All of these are working really nicely now as well, by the way. So a couple of the thermocouples, which are these little bits here, had fallen through because they've got these special little clips on them. So I've replaced those, so they're actually holding up quite nicely now. So they all stay on very, very well. Below that, we've got your microwave. Now, the microwaves are literally a 240 volt appliance only. They do not work on anything apart from 240 volt. So if you don't have the electric hookup plugged in, please do not expect this to work. Okay, it will not do anything at all. If I get down here below this, just checking these lower cupboards. Okay, so you've got gas manifold. Just open that up. Gas manifold over here. So if you wanted to isolate any of the specific appliances, you can do that from the manifold there. Hopefully, I don't know for a fact, but hopefully there'll be a bit of paperwork in the folder to tell you what valve does what, because it's a little bit useless without it, really. So the fridge, this is a Dometic 3-way fridge. Okay, so you have got 3 different options in order to get this fridge cold, and to be honest, it is really, really important that you do have those options. So on the right hand side, you've got this whole section over here. This is all to do with the gas. Okay, so it's got nothing else to do with anything else. This is all just to do with gas. Now essentially you've got, if I just switch it off for a minute, you have got an ignition switch on the right. So when I press on the ignition switch, the igniter down at the burner starts clicking away. Okay, so that's the first step. The next thing to do to actually get it to light up is you push in on the valve and twist around to the left. So you'll see that because I've literally just turned it off, it lit up really fast. But basically, you need to push in around to the left on the valve and just wait for that ignition switch to stop flashing at you. You will also, in person, you'll be able to hear it stop clicking. So you can obviously check it like that as well. But essentially, it's just a case of waiting for that ignition switch to stop flashing at you. And essentially, if you've got the ignition switch turned on like that, and it's not flashing and clicking, it means that the flame is on. Now, alternatively, inside the fridge itself, you have got a little peephole, which you can probably just about see on the video there. You can actually just about see the nice little blue flame. So you can see it physically inside there, or if you're still not convinced that it's definitely on, you can come around to the outside of the van and put your hand over this corner of the top right hand side vent. And that will basically just be pumping out a nice load of hot air, and you'll be able to tell that the fridge is on, which it is. So that's how you'd use it on the gas. The other two options on the left hand side are to do with the electric. Now you've got the option of the green switch, okay, which is your 240 volt electric switch. So if you've got the electric hookup plugged in, you can use the green switch just there, and it will basically just start cooling the fridge down via the mains element in the back, okay. You've also got red switch on the left hand side, which is essentially your switch for turning on the 12 volt option of the fridge. Now the 12 volt option only works when the engine is physically running. All right, so when the engine's started up, you can switch on the 12 volt. Now bear in mind, just as part of the HAB check, obviously I have to check all of this. This is working, so when you turn the 12 volt switch on when the engine's running, it does work, but the light inside of this little switch isn't working, okay? So I just thought I'd point that out to you. The light inside isn't working, but it does work fine. So the idea behind actually using the fridge, I know I've shown you the options that you've got, but the idea behind actually using it is that you need to get the fridge cold before you leave to get to wherever you're going, okay? So what I mean by that is the 12 volt switch, which is the one that you need to use when you're driving, it only really holds the temperature inside the fridge whilst you're on the move. It doesn't really get the fridge cold by itself. So you need to make sure that you pre-cool the fridge either on the gas or on the mains electric, which can take a good sort of 2-3 hours, and then switch over to 12 volt just for when you're on the move. When you get to where you're going, switch back to one of the other two, either the mains or the gas, and then that's the way to use the fridge. So that's it. Just trying to think if there's anything else. This little part down here, up here, folds over, and then you can obviously move this over so you can pull that cover over like that so it covers the sink up completely. Depends how you want to have it. I quite like it up out of the way so you can sort of use this area a bit more. So the bathroom is probably the last thing to explain. So you have got a light inside here, as you can see. Now, as part of the HAB check as well, I did have to replace the hose just here for the shower because that was leaking out of all sorts of places. But that was it for the bathroom. Inside here, you have got a sink. That is a hot and cold sink just there. You'll notice there's no drain in the bottom of this sink, but that's basically because, if I just show you, when you draw the water through, all you need to do to drain this away is just slowly lift it up and pour it down the back. Okay, now I have had people say in the past, like, they think I'm just making that up because it's just a bit of a weird thing, but basically down here in each corner there's two drains, so the drain off points go down to the waste tank from inside there, so you pour it down the back and then it goes into the little tray there and then drains away. It's just the way that they do it. It means that they don't have to have a drain hole here. So anyway, the shower is self-explanatory. You've literally just got a hot and cold tap down there and the water comes out through the shower head, as you would expect. And the toilet is the only other thing that I tend to explain, okay? So basically, you've got the actual toilet bowl there itself. Press the blue button just here if you want the water to pump around for the flush. Okay, and then when you want to drain the water out into the cassette, pull this little grey handle here towards you. Or sorry, push it away from you, sorry. Push it away from you. And then pull it back. And that is it. That is all you have to do to use that toilet. Let's turn that off. So I think I've covered everything. I don't think there's anything I've missed out. If there is anything you want going over again, or anything you do think I've missed out, then just give us a shout. But otherwise, we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.